Hi, welcome to In the Kitchen with Elizabeth. I'm Elizabeth Rakestraw, and today we're going to be doing my husband's favorite birthday pie. It's a blueberry sour cream pie. So let's go ahead and get started. What we're going to do is we're going to take a pie crust. You can use a refrigerated pie crust, one from the freezer, or a homemade recipe if you already have one. I don't want to touch on pie crust because we'll do an entire episode on pie crusts one of these days. So what you're going to do is you're going to actually take the pie crust that's been frozen for about 15 or 20 minutes, and we're going to put it on a baking tray lined with parchment, and we're going to line the baking crust with foil. Then what we need is some pie weights in order to blind bake it. So what I use is pennies, believe it or not, because who spends their pennies and doesn't collect them anyway? So you're just going to dump some pennies in there. A lot of people may use ceramic pie weights. However, they're kind of expensive. If you're not a professional baker or a frequent baker, then you probably don't have them and they're probably not worth the investment. You can also use beans, rice, lentils. I tend to stay away from that only because once you bake them in the oven, then you really can't cook them as though they're still normal. So pennies are a perfect solution. They conduct heat really well. They have lots of weight to them, so it keeps the pie crust from shifting. And I found them to be a really, really good solution in terms of pie weights. So we're going to put this in a 400-degree oven for about 12 minutes. Okay, so while the crust is blind baking in the oven, we're going to do the filling, which is very easy. We're just going to start off with a 16-ounce container of sour cream. We're going to use about 3/4 of a cup to 1 1/4 cups of sugar, depending on the sweetness of your blueberries. So if your blueberries are real tart, you'll want to use some more. And if they're kind of sweet, then you want to go with a lesser amount of sugar. Then we're going to put in a 1/2 cup of flour, about 2 teaspoons of almond extract, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then 3 eggs. And then real simple, we're just going to whisk them all together until it's smooth. So once we get this pretty smooth, which is fairly easy to do, then what we're going to do is we are going to fold the blueberries into the batter. You just dump the blueberries right in there. And then you want to switch to a spatula so we don't smash any of the blueberries. So you just want to make sure that the blueberries are evenly distributed. Okay, so the batter's ready. We're going to move this stuff out of the way. Grab a hot plate. The last 4 seconds is always the longest. So you're just going to remove the pie from the oven. You're going to lift the foil right out. Then we're going to pour the batter right in. This is really super simple. And then we're going to place it back in the oven for about 25 minutes. Okay, so while the filling is baking in the pie crust, we're going to start working on the topping while that's in the oven. So let me get this stuff out of the way. And what we're going to need is about 1 cup of flour, about a half a cup of sugar, which we'll mix right in there. And you're going to need a pastry cutter for this. Although if you don't have a pastry cutter, don't panic. You can use a fork to cut in the butter. So we're going to add about a stick of butter, or half a cup of butter, into the flour and sugar mixture. And we want to just cut it until it's got kind of a grainy texture to it. And I've also heard from some people that this is the best pie they've ever had. You can also use cherries in this pie rather than blueberries if you prefer cherries when they're in season. So then we're just going to add about a half a cup of chopped pecans, and we'll mix those in as well. You really only need to stir those in. You're not really cutting them in. And then we'll be ready to go when the pie comes out of the oven. Okay, so now we're in the home stretch. All we need to do is get some of these crumbs on top, get it back in the oven, and we'll be good to go in about 12 minutes. So you can use your hands for this. If you feel funny about using your hands, you can use your spoon, but you're literally just going to spread the crumbs all over the top of the pie. And this is why I lined the cookie tray with parchment paper, my favorite thing in the world in the kitchen. So it'll make cleanup a lot easier if you drop some of the crumbs. And these crumbs are going to be great. You should smell this pie. The blueberries are oozing. Now, one of the things is when you pull this out of the oven, you want it to be slightly shiny in the center of the pie because you don't want it to overbake too much. And then we're going to use a pie guard. If you've never used a pie guard, you can see how brown the crusts are already getting. So we don't want the crust to get overcooked. So we're going to use a pie guard. If you don't happen to have a pie guard, it's not a problem. Just cut yourself strips of foil, and then you can wrap the foil around the edges of the crust, and it'll have the same effect as using the pie guard. So let's get this back in the oven for about 12 minutes, and then we will be ready to go. So while the pie is finishing up, I'm going to go ahead and take this one that we made earlier and slice it so that you can see what it looks like inside. It is actually a delectable pie. It's really great, especially in the Arizona warm weather, but anywhere during the spring or summer where it's kind of warm, because you want to refrigerate it when it comes out of the oven. So when you cut it, it's usually cold. It can be served at room temperature, but I would suggest chilling it. Makes it much easier to cut as well. So wait till you see this. It looks amazing. You'll see why some people think that it's a cream cheese pie instead of sour cream pie. If we can get it out again. So you see how it's all the blueberries ooze into the sour cream layer, and the kind of crunchy crumb topping on top. It's a perfect combination and juxtaposition of textures in your mouth. So, you know, blueberries evoke so many childhood memories for so many people. It's easy to see why Don views this as his favorite birthday pie. So we hope you enjoyed this episode. You can find the recipe on our blog at emojblog.com. We hope you join us again next month, and until we see each other again, I'm wishing you many moments of joy. Thank you.